Hello, today I want to talk about the code of my plugin. And before we started, um, I want to talk about the logic behind my plugin. My first uh, thought was to use rectangles and create big rectangle and then use small rectangle to subdivide from big rectangle to create transparent places where you can draw. But when I tried copy some code with Max and put it in Krita, it didn't work for me. So I started looking somewhere else, and I decided to use SVG path because I like it versatility. It has a lot of options to draw the line, and I can just put the coordinates of the boxes using this path, uh, and then I can use um, fill rule even odd, so I can create transparent boxes like I wanted to. So let's before we look at the code, let's look at the comic panel, and this part is a little important for me because when I realized that, I felt very smart. So when you look at the panels, you notice that uh, panel have uh, even an odd corner, and if you have information how what the size of this and what the size of the whole page, you can calculate the width panel and the height of the panel. So you just uh, it's a very great discovery for me. So I can create a loop where I look if it's an odd number. I add gutter. If I have even number, I add how many panels there are. Right now it is one. Now it is the second odd number. So if it's second, so it is now two colors, and that way we can have a matrix of every corner of the panels, and with that we can have one big box. Just put 00 and then just the width of the document and width and the height of the document. And then we have a matrix, so we can get the value get the coordinate. We have a matrix of coordinates of corners of panels. Oh my god. And we can get the upper left one and go from here to here and then to here and then to here and have a box, and we can just create another loop that will go from for every upper left corner. So let's open the code, which is available on GitHub, and also have a plugin to look what code creates. First, let's look at here. I copied init file from scripting side of Krita and just changed to my file or folder. I don't know which one this should be, and class that I create here, right here. So what does this code do? Um, this one put the name of the plugin to the window title. This one is sort of default settings for SVG document whole page width and height, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. Then we set out the layout so that we have main layout, and that layout is vertical, so that every widget is under another widget. So will be that way. Then we create label where we put preview, word preview. So it is this one. This one creates this one, and so is this one. It creates preview where we load our SVG code. Then we go and we create. This is creating button. It says generate, and so is for label of number of rows. It is creating these words. These words. Then we have a lot of this code. So we create horizontal layout so that way that we have a spin box on the left and slider on the right. As you can see before, we had only one widget and they always be one under another. Also, horizontal layout helps with changing size so that they are like don't change according to the window. And so we have horizontal layout, and then we create spinbox. Spinbox, it is this one, and default value is 1, and we add it to the layout, and then we create slider. We add it to the layout, and then we create slider. Slider, it is this one, and we set orientation so it will be horizontal. Make text position. I don't know if you can see or not, but here's this text. This is for showing ticks below. Then tick interval so that it will be just one tick. You can change it to 2, but don't do it. And we set on that minimum it will be 1 and maximum it will be 5. I choose 5 because I found on Reddit discussion and having 5 on a row and 5 columns of panels is should be maximum because it is a lot of, first of all, 85 panels to draw, and also in reality you always need less. Then I repeat the same thing for columns, spin box and slider, and the same way for pretty much color and thickness. Just change the value to 30 and 50 so that default value is 30 and maximum is 50. Maybe I should change that because it breaks plugin a little bit, makes it weird. I should probably change that so it looks at the document height and width, and if we have 3 columns, it takes width and divided by columns number. But I will talk about it a little bit later when we go to creating Swigger file. So after we have all of this, we connect actions like clicking on the button, changing the value, and functions that sort of like we're creating what happens clicking the button and what's supposed to happen when we click the button. Like what happens, we click the button, what's supposed to happen. So this is the main function, the function that's calculating the panels. um, when I first was creating this plugin, it was supposed to be Docker that creates file layer, but um, file layer didn't work for me. I will tell about it a little later. And before, I thought I would look at the document, look at the current document. If I have no current document, I will choose default sizes. If not, I will choose the active document. I will have to think about it later to should I uh, make a Docker or like should user. I will talk about it a little later. So we get rows number from here, we get columns number from here, and gutter from here, and line thickness from here. Gutter, I should think about should I make horizontal and vertical gutter, because maybe you want like slimmer vertical lines but more big uh, horizontal lines. Horizontal, vertical, sorry. Um, but also like creates even more sliders, and I wanted just to make panels quicker. This is the idea of the plugin. Make panels faster. And then we have all the information needed to calculate the width of the panel and height of the panel. Rows is always how many gutters. It is always how many panels plus one. Look, like we have 4 panels, and gutters will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 5. So we get number of columns, just adding 1, and then multiply by gutter size, and we have all the sizes, and then just subdivide from the width of the document, and then divide by the number of columns. We get the width of the panel, and the same thing happens with the height of the panel. Then we create a list. I guess it is how it is called in Python, but I prefer word metrics, because what I'm creating is metrics, and so we start with as you seen before, we start with the 1 1. So we start with an odd corner. So start corner x will be 0, because start is the yes, because start panel, we start with the start panel, we don't start with an end panel. Here's the loop, and we create so sort of this columns, and I guess this is the row. In the first row, we here we calculated the y coordinate by finding how many gutters and multiplying the size of the gutter, and then adding how many panels. And the same way goes for x value. And then I create a string that has coordinate x and y of the corner of the panel and add it to the matrix. And then I check if it's not an even number, then I update how many odd numbers we passed, and else is the otherwise. Now we have a matrix that has coordinates of every corner, so we can go from upper left corner, and in this loop we create a string that creates box of the panel. Takes upper left corner, then it takes upper right, then upper lower right, and lower left. I should probably delete this. I use browser tag when I was developing plugin without Krita. So when I was developing, I first started with console, and to look if my code worked, I looked at it in the browser. So I added this browser tag so that browser would render it. Without this, browser wouldn't render it. But Krita doesn't need it, so I changed this to less worded value. Here we create a box, the big box that has the size of the page, and then we add everything up. Browser tag, then write path, and then we put path outline, the big box of the page, and then smaller boxes of the panels. And I should probably add an option for a user to change the color of the gutter and also of the line, but I don't have time right now. I will add it sometime later. So we have this big function, right? And we call this function into other functions. One that updates this preview. So we call this function and then transform the string we have into bytes, and those bytes we load to the preview. And this function is called by practically everything everything we change, it calls to this function so that it can update this preview. So I was talking about something that postponed. So this function create file, and when I first developing plugin, I was thinking about loading as a file layer, but at the very last moment when I developed plugin in console only with Python, then in PyQt so that it has a user interface, and then when I tried to add it to the Krita and I run this plugin at the very last moment, it didn't work. So it didn't work because when I create file, it creates in the folder where is Krita. But by default, Krita is installed in program files, and you need administrator permissions to create files there. So you either need to run Krita as an administrator, or you need to save somewhere else on the computer the file. But if you save somewhere else, you need to take into account that Krita is a cross-platform program that works on not only on Windows but on Mac OS X and Linux, and you need to know also where to put on those systems where to put them. I should probably just use Python's standard library temp file and just get a directory where platform store temporary files, just save it there, load to Krita, and then delete that file. I will change that later to do that. But right now it is like this because I wanted to work it, so to able to work it. Uh, um, the file layer also doesn't work. I don't know why, but it does not load this picture fully. It just load like with this little square, but I need fully. Thank this guy out here for suggesting this code. I tried it, it worked, but I still need to figure out how I should put it in my plugin, and also figure out should I create new document or should I create new layer. What is better user experience? Um, right now it creates new document, which is also kind of great in a way because when you create new document, it creates a vector file, and you actually can when I create document and it loads, you can actually manipulate this vector file. But when you load it as a file layer, you cannot. You can just load it and that's it. You cannot change this. So it's a very great question. But for now, it just loads as a document. But I will still try to think maybe as a file layer would work. So we are left with functions that are we previously skipped. I'm talking about this, that if we click the generate button, this function works. So it is this function, and then then there is this for actions when we trigger slider. When we trigger slider, we call this function. Those functions are here. They're all pretty the same. We change the value of the spinbox so that it will update it, and also update this preview. And that's for every slider. The third one, the second one, and the last thing is how we change how we trigger spinbox changes so that I make it that way that if you really need like 6 rows, you can manually just edit like 6 or 7, and 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 this pinbox is also, if you make it like 2 or 3, it will also update the slider here. And also when you change something in the spinbox, this preview also updates. So I have, as you can see, I have a lot of things I need to fix, and to be honest, I don't know how soon I will make it because I need to find a job, and it will take some time, and I won't be able to work on plugin for that time. So I don't know when I will update my plugin. But I hope when I find time, I will try to figure out how this plugin should look like and work. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.